Suits actress Meghan Markle married some unemployed dude who still lives with his grandma.
The former prince and current river corpse has been arrested and now may be banned from ever taking the throne. In fact, the royal family said the only way he can become king is if it comes down to either him or Meghan.
SNL came after Meghan Markle again, and this time it was not just a small joke. It felt more like a total attack. There were no gentle laughs, no holding back at all, just strong and brutal jokes through the whole sketch. Now sure, SNL makes fun of everybody. That is what the show does. Nobody ever gets protected from their jokes.
The organizers of King Charles's coronation have officially invited Meghan Markle, and this is nice, at a starting salary of $19.
But the way they keep going back to Meghan and Prince Harry feels different now, almost like there is extra heat behind it. It does not feel like random comedy anymore. It feels much more personal, like they know exactly what upsets people, and they keep pushing every single button, and it did not end there. Emma Stone joined the sketch too, playing one of Harry's former girlfriends. She did not play it carefully either. She went directly at Meghan, joking that she was basically riding the royal spotlight for attention.
This is one of my ex-girlfriends. Excellent, Miss Tinsley Granger-Gash.
Yeah.
Hi, Tins. You want to say something to my future child?
Oh, hello, little baby. Hello, little tiny baby.
At one
moment, she pretty much painted Meghan as someone enjoying palace money and living a luxury life, throwing around the word freeloader like it was no big deal. That kind of joke hits hard, especially when someone steps into the role with that much confidence. And that is when everything starts feeling different, because the same story around Meghan keeps showing up again and again every single time people talk about her.
Plans for a spin-off to the hit series Suits, which will be set in Los Angeles. It will focus on Meghan Markle's character's struggle to balance her legal career while also caring for an unemployed immigrant.
People always bring up how she first became super famous through the royal family and then later created a whole new image by speaking publicly about her experiences there. But at the same time, there is also this picture she gives off like she was already deeply connected in Hollywood before any of that happened. That difference is what keeps people talking nonstop. On one side, there is the royal connection that completely changed her life. On the other side, there is this idea that she was already successful before it all happened.
Lord Prince Harry, a.k.a. the Ginger of Windsor, a.k.a. Redhead Redemption 2. I am making this video for you, my future child.
SNL clearly notices that gap, and they keep turning it into comedy every chance they get. A lot of people say this woman always needs attention, like it is not even a choice for her anymore. It feels non-stop, constant energy all the time. The way people describe it, attention almost sounds like fuel for her, something she depends on every single day. Critics push this idea that she wakes up already planning how to stay in the spotlight.
So busy and happy. I'm glad we didn't make it.
How to keep people talking about her name all the time. And then when people react, whether they praise her or criticize her, it starts another cycle where she responds to that attention again and again. That pattern has become a huge part of online conversations about her, and it is wild because some people think it is exhausting, while others cannot stop watching. It turns into this strange mix of drama and entertainment that keeps pulling people back in even when they say they are tired of it. And SNL clearly picked up on that feeling. They are not guessing anymore. They fully leaned into it, making it obvious they think they understand the image she keeps presenting to the public.
Elon built electric cars. He's going to Mars. Why is he even involving himself with Twitter? It would be like if the Prince of England gave it all up just to marry an actor from Suits.
Which always shows up in these conversations, too. She was part of Suits, a solid show with loyal fans, especially later when streaming made even more people start watching it. But critics quickly point out that she was never seen as one of the biggest stars in Hollywood back then, not on the same level as legends like Meryl Streep or Viola Davis, who spent decades building famous careers with huge awards and unforgettable roles. Instead, people describe Meghan as someone steadily working, doing her job, and growing her career little by little like many actors do. Then everything suddenly changed when she married into the royal family, and overnight her fame became worldwide, acting like she knew nothing. Going on Oprah Winfrey saying, "I had no idea. I did not know how racist they were." People reacted by saying, "It is the royal family. You did not even search them online?" That huge jump in fame is what keeps the conversation alive, especially when people feel the image today does not fully match where things originally started. And when it comes to comedy, it has not only been one show making jokes. Big comedians like Colin Jost and Chris Rock have both shared their opinions too. It is almost like Meghan became a repeating topic that comedians always return to because audiences instantly understand the joke. Even SNL leaned hard into that idea, showing her less like a serious public figure and more like that one dramatic person everyone knows, the one who leaves the group chat angrily but keeps sending long messages explaining why. It really feels like someone saying they are tired of drama while still shouting through a giant megaphone. That is the vibe critics keep talking about over and over, and once you notice it, it becomes hard to ignore. You hear the complaints all the time. The attention is too much. The cameras never stop. I just want privacy. And on the surface, those words sound very serious. But right beside that, there is also a non-stop flow of interviews, podcasts, and famous appearances happening one after another. There are documentaries coming out, giant platform deals being announced, and lifestyle products connected directly to her name getting pushed into the spotlight too. That contrast is exactly what keeps confusing people because it feels like two completely different messages happening at the same time. From the outside, critics say it just does not match up. They argue that you cannot ask for complete privacy while also joining projects built around sharing your personal story with millions of people. That tension is exactly what comedians grabbed onto, and SNL did not hold back at all. They went directly at that victim story angle and turned it into a punchline, making it clear they think audiences already see the pattern too. And that same pattern keeps repeating everywhere people talk about her. First, something happens that grabs huge attention. Then people react, argue, and spread the story all over social media and news headlines. After that, the conversation changes into how stressful and overwhelming all the attention feels, which creates even more discussion. Then before things calm down, the whole cycle starts again from the beginning. Comedians have been talking about this same pattern for years now.
You don't know nothing. Going on Oprah, I didn't know. I had no idea how racist they were. It's the royal family. You didn't Google this? It's the royal family.
Became one of those subjects that instantly keeps audiences interested because everyone understands the reference right away. And when Chris Rock talked about it, he did not avoid the subject either. He spoke very directly, saying out loud what many people were already thinking but were not saying so openly. Chris Rock also shared his opinion about the conversation involving the baby's skin tone, and he did not soften his words at all. He described it more like a family being curious, the type of conversations that can happen when people from different backgrounds come together. His opinion sounded blunt, maybe even controversial, but that is exactly why it got so much attention and started debates everywhere. Then Jimmy Kimmel joined the conversation too, and he has been joking about them for a long time. This time he focused on the bigger story, talking about their move to the United States and how America itself has a complicated history with race. He mentioned that the country already has deep struggles of its own, which made the entire situation feel confusing to him. That point added even more fire to the conversation because it raised questions people were already fighting about online. Critics say the whole story still does not completely make sense to them. They see people moving from one difficult environment into another difficult environment, and they wonder how all the pieces fit together. And in the middle of all that, there is still this ongoing image that the story always circles back to feeling misunderstood or treated unfairly, which keeps the spotlight shining brighter. From a comedy point of view, that is exactly the kind of material comedians love using. They look at the public image, the choices, the interviews, and they build jokes around the patterns and contradictions they notice. That does not mean everybody agrees with those jokes, but it does explain why this subject keeps returning on stage and television. What stands out the most is how differently people understand the exact same story. Some people see smart planning, some people see honesty, and others just see the same cycle repeating again and again in public. That is really the center of the criticism. Some people look at the whole situation and reduce it down to ambition, status, and privilege. They believe she entered royal life for the title, the money, and the opportunities that came with it, but did not want all the responsibility connected to that role. That is the argument critics keep repeating, and it has been said so many times that it almost became its own storyline. And then there is Harry, who always gets dragged into the conversation beside her. The story people tell about him is that he walked away from everything familiar, his family, his country, and the role he had his entire life, completely changing his world. Supporters say it was a personal choice for freedom and independence, while critics say emotion and influence pushed him into it. Either way, people stay focused on how dramatically his life changed, especially now that he is connected to a completely different kind of public image and business world. That image gets even bigger every time another project comes out. From media appearances to product launches, every single thing gets analyzed and turned into public commentary. When lifestyle products or branded business ideas appear, critics quickly make fun of them, saying it feels disconnected from the serious tone of earlier interviews. That contrast becomes easy comedy material, and comedians waste no time jumping on it. Then Joe Coy stepped in during the Golden Globe Awards, and he did not hesitate either. With Harry and Meghan sitting there in the audience, he leaned into the moment and delivered a joke that immediately got attention. He made fun of royal connections and money, tying it back to their public image in a way that made people react instantly. And that connects to a bigger point comedians always return to. The move from royal life into giant media deals, especially that huge Netflix agreement, became one of the biggest discussion topics. Massive money numbers started getting mentioned everywhere.
He asked the CEO of Disney to hook his wife up with voiceovers. And I mean, don't get me wrong, on the one hand, husband goals. On the other hand, you gotta admit the monarchy has fallen.
Became extremely high, and then every project started getting judged under a microscope. When something failed to impress people the way they expected, it instantly became comedy material. Trevor Noah even gave his own smooth opinion about it. He talked about how unusual it looks when personal struggles and public family drama become huge entertainment deals. His style was calm, but his message hit hard. Because for many viewers, turning those experiences into business opportunities feels both interesting and confusing at the same time. Trevor Noah's opinion about Harry and Meghan actually changed over time, and people noticed that shift. Early on, he supported them, especially during conversations about media treatment and the pressure around their situation. He spoke seriously about those issues and agreed that real challenges existed. But later, things started looking different as more public moments happened. One moment that really stood out was when Harry was seen trying to arrange a voiceover opportunity with Disney. That video clip spread everywhere, and it changed how many people, including Trevor, looked at the situation. Suddenly, the story felt different. People started asking an obvious question. If the goal was to step away and live a quieter, more private life, then why immediately move into giant entertainment deals? That is when Trevor slowly changed his tone. He started pointing out how it looked like a major switch from royal duties into building celebrity media careers. And to critics, that did not look like privacy at all. It looked more like a rebranding, moving from one type of spotlight into another type, only packaged differently. Then Stephen Colbert joined in, taking a completely different angle. He focused directly on branding. When he joked about the H&M nickname, people reacted immediately. He compared them to the clothing store, and the joke stuck because it was simple and sharp. It turned something meant to sound elegant into something people instantly laughed at. And honestly, that is what comedians keep returning to, the mixed messages. One minute the image is about being relatable, the next minute it is about royalty. Then suddenly it changes into being misunderstood, and after that it becomes about building a giant business empire. That constant switching is what creates the awkward feeling comedians grab onto. It feels like several different identities all being shown at once without fully committing to just one. That energy of trying to do everything at the same time keeps becoming joke material, and it never really stops. Even smaller moments like lifestyle content or simple product choices end up getting highlighted and turned into comedy. Jimmy Fallon joined that wave too, making a light joke about one of those moments and showing how even tiny details can become full comedy bits when the spotlight is already that intense. Jimmy Fallon looked at Meghan's lifestyle content and focused on one moment that got people talking for many different reasons. It was supposed to feel relatable, simple, and down to earth, but critics thought it came across completely differently. The moment was just regular store pretzels being poured into a fancy glass jar like it was some amazing new idea. That was the entire scene, and Fallon immediately turned it into a joke because many viewers felt it looked like someone trying way too hard to make something ordinary appear special. That is the disconnect people keep mentioning. If the goal is to feel relatable, critics say it has to feel natural, not overly staged or polished. They believe simply showing normal everyday life would work better than presenting small ordinary things like they are revolutionary ideas. That pretzel moment became a symbol of a bigger issue people keep talking about: the difference between the image being shown and how audiences actually receive it. Then John Oliver entered the conversation with a completely different style, bringing sharp British humor into the situation. He looked at the entire royal mess and turned it into a joke about the royal family itself. He painted a funny picture of Prince Andrew sitting back quietly and feeling relieved that public attention had moved away from him for once. The way Oliver described it made the entire thing feel like a rotating spotlight inside the royal family, where one headline replaces another. And of course, Ricky Gervais did not hold back either. He went directly at the ideas of privilege and public image. His point, wrapped inside comedy, was simple and blunt. If you come from a life filled with status and advantages, then admit it openly. Do not try to present yourself as struggling the same way ordinary people struggle. According to him, that contrast is exactly where both the humor and criticism become strongest, especially when royal titles and status still get used whenever they help branding or image. That contradiction is exactly what comedians keep turning into jokes. It is sharp, audiences understand it immediately, and it creates instant reactions. Then there are voices like Tim Dillon, who do not even try to soften their opinions. He gives his thoughts in a much more direct and unfiltered style, making it clear he finds the whole situation frustrating and difficult to connect with. No fancy metaphors, no poetic language, just direct feelings. That is the style some comedians use when talking about wealthy celebrity culture. It is blunt, sharp, and calls things out directly without dressing them up. Somehow, Meghan ended up right in the center of that bigger conversation, representing what critics see as an overly polished, carefully branded, perfectly controlled public image. That is why her name keeps appearing again and again. It fits into a larger discussion people were already having, and this is the part that keeps returning in every joke. When someone presents themselves as a worldwide public figure, the spotlight does not come with protection. It comes with even more attention from every direction. That includes praise, criticism, and lots of comedy too. The bigger the platform becomes, the bigger the reactions become. That is the trade-off people keep talking about, and comedians lean into it every single time because once someone enters that space, there is no choosing only the good parts. You cannot keep all the fame while trying to block out every joke. Everything comes together as one package. The attention, the headlines, the commentary, it all arrives together, and audiences are always watching. That is why that moment hit people the way it did. Not dramatic like some huge scandal, but definitely damaging to public image. And sometimes those moments stay in people's minds longer than anything else. At the end of the day, everything depends on how people see it. Some think the jokes go way too far. Others think it is simply part of living with that level of fame. So what do you think? Does Meghan deserve all these jokes, or is she being treated unfairly as a public figure? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone following all the drama.